What in the world is this? I wonder how many weather video thumbnails have this as their avatar today. And does the number 500 mean anything to you? Well, we're going to talk about it and the severe weather threat that remains in the picture, but for how long? We're going to get into all of that, plus take a look at the long range, test your weather IQ, and look back at an iconic event that happened 88 years ago today. So put down the mouse, pick up the coffee, and buckle up because a new episode of Cold Rain's Weather World starts right now. The GFS is in its bag like the fries are at the bottom, folks. Look at this model. What in the world? So we've got a strong hurricane coming out of the tropics that's going to slam into the East Coast and cause mayhem and destruction, right? Oh, not so fast. The GFS at 384 hours loves to predict erroneous things. I love it especially in the wintertime when it predicts 3 feet snowstorms over the southeast. I've watched this happen over and over again. But is there any credibility to this? No. Do any of the other models show it? No. So the GFS, of course, is on an island as usual way out here in time, which is why you shouldn't look at it after, I don't know, 144 hours or something like that, probably. So the scores are terrible. The model's pretty bad. This is not a real solution. And it was yesterday's 12Z run. The 18Z had it. The 0Z and the 6Z, nope. Not a trace. No hurricanes coming. So hurricanes will come at some point. We'll get into hurricane season and have legitimate threats to track. But in the meantime, folks, today's a special day, 500. That is the number of subscribers now to Cold Rain's Weather Channel. Thank you very much. That's a milestone from me anyway. We're only 4,367,000,000 and change behind Ryan Hall and Max Velocity, but we're coming for you guys. And Mitch West too. So anyway, that's where we are today. I think we're at 507, but sincerely, thank you all for signing up to the channel and for your support here. It means so much to me and I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to kind of build this community, walk along this journey with you, and you know, just glad to be here every day. The goal of the channel is to educate you about the weather, to, of course, give you the forecast for the next few days, week, what have you, talk about important weather events, but make sure you understand what's kind of going on and driving the weather. So when you stop at the water cooler and somebody asks you about the weather because you're a weather enthusiast and they know that you know about the weather, you can talk about it and impress them with things that are driving the forecast. In any event, one of the things that we always do here at the fastest growing new weather show on the internet, which is Cold Rain's Weather World, is we promise to make you a little bit smarter than when you came in. How much smarter? I don't know, but definitely smarter. And today we're going to do that by testing your weather IQ. And so today's weather IQ question is about state of change in matter, okay? So what is the term for the process by which ice turns directly into water vapor? Deposition, evaporation, sublimation, or freezing? If you know the answer, go to the comments, type it in. If you don't know it, then all you have to do is just hang out till the end of the show. We've got some fun things along the way, so you'll be sure to gain something from all of the content that we've got ahead. But if you just wait till the end of the show, I'll let you know what it is. All right, so the way the show's lined up today, we're going to talk about what happened yesterday. We're going to look at a couple of other quick things. Then we're going to get into the daily forecast, including the severe weather threat. We're going to take a look then at an iconic event that happened years ago. And finally, take a look at what's coming up over the next few days, including potentially a little bit more severe weather and the longer range. Things start to quiet down a bit. You know, thankfully, we've had multiple days of severe weather. And so hopefully we can see that come to an end, at least for a few days. And then we'll wrap up with our geological update and solar update and end with the answer to today's trivia question. As usual, I'll have all those segments typed out in the description so you can kind of skip around to where you need to go, but definitely come back and look at the rest of the video. You'll enjoy it, I promise you. And so today we're going to start by taking a look at the severe weather reports that we had yesterday. Those were focused primarily where we had several severe thunderstorm and tornado watches where the severe weather threat was maximized in the Ohio Valley, along the eastern seaboard, and the upper or the lower mid-Atlantic, down here along the coast of Florida, and then throughout Texas. We saw 2 tornadoes, although I don't think any damage was reported, and the largest hail report that I could find was 2 inches. One of the tornadoes was in New Mexico, the other was in generally my neck of the woods. I live about right here in Morganton, North Carolina, and so this was over in the eastern section, the coastal plain of North Carolina. I think it was some drone footage that spotted that, and a couple of other spotters spotted a funnel cloud and maybe a touchdown, but didn't see a lot of damage with that. But we saw 127 severe weather reports yesterday. We're going to bounce around a little bit here as we kind of go back and forth to different displays, because I've got different things that kind of format differently on the screens. That's why that happens. Some folks like to chop up the video, and it's like max headroom. You know, you're talking and you're just like halfway through a sentence, it's been spliced. I don't know why people do that. I guess maybe to save time, but in any event, I'm not doing that here. Look, so we've got our satellite picture. We're going to start here. Take a look at the satellite. Look at this. That swirl with that system in the southwest pulling up moisture out of the Gulf. We've got plenty of shower and thunderstorm activity falling from these clouds. You can see the lightning display lit up very well here. I think there's a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for this morning for parts of Texas. Another big swirl up here over the Great Lakes now. This is finally starting to make a little bit of progress, although it's very, very slow. This upper low that we've been watching up here, plenty of clouds along the east coast, especially up into the northeast. Clouds down here in Florida with this old frontal zone that's kind of hanging out. And then that's pretty much it. Clear skies through the Midwest and into the Tennessee Valley, and then along the west coast, and desert Southwest is clearing out there as well. Looking at the rainfall for Oklahoma over the past month. So I mentioned this a couple days ago and I never showed it to you. This is on our weather board, southernweather.com. You can see, you can't really see the URL, it's southernwx.com. We post about the weather. We have a community there that talks about the weather. And this comes from Brent, who sent this in as a post. And it shows that Oklahoma had its wettest April on record with a statewide average of 8.52 inches. Folks, that is a lot of rain. And you can see some of these areas in south central Oklahoma picked up over 15, 16 inches of rain. No wonder there was widespread river flooding and flash flooding that happened throughout April. So it's been a wet period from Texas to Oklahoma to Arkansas to Missouri, Louisiana. You folks in the south central portion of the country have really had the big wet. And now looking at the radar currently, we can actually see a lot more rain falling through Oklahoma and Texas, with that big upper level low sparking off showers and thunderstorms. Some of those storms may be severe this morning. Snow in the higher elevations of the Rockies, where there are winter storm warnings in effect for up to 2 feet of snow out here. And then this upper low over the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley has just been spinning, pulling in moisture out of the Atlantic, just drawing this moisture in. And so areas up in here in this kind of zone up in New England have seen lots of unsettled conditions. It hasn't been solid rain, but it's been damp and just, nasty up there. Moisture spinning around this low pressure is continuing to drive rain throughout this region as well. Looking at our hazards map, we can certainly see the focus of the rough weather out here from New Mexico through Texas over into the lower Mississippi Valley. Flood watches are up for excessive rainfall. We could see a lot of rain production from these thunderstorms. Rainfall rates are going to be high, 2 inches per hour in some spots, and several rounds of rain will bring several inches of rain throughout this area. Severe thunderstorm watch, and you can see these little yellow boxes indicating, or polygons indicating, severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, and a flash flood watch up here as well in southern New England. And we've got some fog advisories that will be discontinued as the day wears on and fog burns off. Taking a look at the excessive rainfall threat that is centered down here over the lower Mississippi Valley into the southern plains, we've got a slight risk around that. And in terms of how much rain we could see, several inches along this corridor from essentially Denver down into the southern areas of the south central country here. And so maximized over the Louisiana area, where we could see as much as 4 or 5, even 6 inches of rain in spots down here. So again, flash flood warnings are to be taken seriously. Have a plan to evacuate to higher ground if you need to. Don't cross any flooded roadways. And then the surface map today, we've had this big upper low that's sort of sitting in here. It sparked a surface low over here in the Great Lakes. Cold front trails back from that all the way to a little wave in Florida back into Texas. And so we've seen clouds and precipitation around that. We've got a little bit of snow shower activity in the higher elevations where we could see some heavy snow up in Wyoming. And this area here from Colorado all the way down through Texas into Alabama, back into Kansas. This is where we're going to be looking at potentially widespread heavy rain with these thunderstorms and a severe threat that exists this afternoon as well, even an enhanced threat. And if we take a look at that, can actually see that right here. So we've got an enhanced threat that's centered down in southeastern Texas for a potential for tornadoes and even strong tornadoes. What's happening is you have a mid-level jet that's swinging through, that's producing some lift, and you're also seeing a low-level jet develop too. So the wind shear and the wind speed increases with height. The winds are turning thanks to that low-level jet at the surface. We're going to see plenty of instability, and so that's going to be maximized in Texas, particularly in southeastern Texas, where we could see tornadoes. We've even got a hatched area of 10%. And I had a question come in, and I'm going to answer this now because it's a good time to do it. When you see these areas with the little black hatch marks in here like this, and you've got wind, you've got 30% wind, and you've got hail with a big hatched mark area for hail, what that means is that whatever the percentage that you're seeing here, in this case 15% chance of hail, or here you've got 10% chance of tornadoes, but it's hatched. That means that while you have a 10% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of a point, some of those tornadoes could be significant tornadoes. So when you see little hatched area, that means significant, okay? And it tells you down here significant. And so significant means in the tornado world, EF2 or higher, okay? So that's what that means. Hatched area right down here. See, it tells you down here at the bottom, you can see where I'm highlighting. Hatched area, 10% greater probability of EF2 or higher within 25 miles of a point. So any tornadoes that form could be strong. Same with hail. See right here, it says 10% probability of 2-inch hail. So significant hail, 2 inches or greater. Significant wind is like, I think it's 70 knots or greater. So that's what the hatched area shows you. Sorry to dive into that too much today, but I wanted to make sure people understood that. So we've got a wind threat, 30% chance, a tornado threat, that's about 10% down here with potentially strong tornadoes, and a hail threat. So that's what's going on today. As I mentioned before, we've got this mid-level energy in the atmosphere that's swinging through. We've also got plenty of instability. So if I roll this forward through the afternoon, look at this instability coming in here to eastern Texas along Louisiana as well. And you can even see some instability up here. And we've got a marginal risk up here for a few scattered severe weather reports up in the Northeast. But that goes on through the day, and then it sort of dies out as the heating of the day relaxes and cooling takes over, and then it builds back again tomorrow. So that's what we're looking at from a CAPE standpoint. Thunderstorm fuel. In the mid-levels, we've got a couple of features to pay attention to. This low that we've been watching, this mid-level low, and this other mid-level low up here. Of course, on the eastern side of these is where you get your southwesterly and southerly flow. Plenty of moisture coming in on the eastern side of both of these lows. This is bringing in rich moisture that helps to fuel thunderstorm activity. And you see this little jet activity down here as well. So we've got extra wind in Texas. Got this little jet streak down here, and as we put this into motion through the course of this afternoon, you can see that jet strengthen a little bit, move over into East Texas, and then dissipate as the evening wears on. And so that's going to be helping to fuel thunderstorm development across Texas today. And eventually, supercell activity will coalesce. We're already seeing some organization up into the northern parts and the central part of Texas. If we can keep this part of Texas, the southeastern part down here, sort of in a pristine state through much of the afternoon, meaning we're not seeing thunderstorms work in there and overturn the atmosphere, then we will see additional heating, and that will destabilize the atmosphere further, leading to a greater tornado threat. And so we're going to watch that eventually. That will all coalesce and get on into Louisiana. It'll create an MCS that will enhance the wind threat later on in the evening. And the model shows us that this is the HRRRR model. And you can put this into motion and see storms over Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, snow back in the higher elevations. You can see that little activity up here in the Northeast as well. But as we get on through the afternoon, this is starting to get to early afternoon. You start to see thunderstorms develop here in southeastern Texas, this cluster moving into Oklahoma as well. That will push on off as we get through the evening into 7, 8 o'clock. And then we get on in here, we can see those thunderstorms develop, but they're starting to coalesce into a system. You see how they're organized like this? The model does a pretty good job of showing that. It even shows a little bow echo. Look at this bow down here in working into Mississippi. So Jackson, watch out as we get on into the early evening hours, and we'll see if it really plays out like this, but there are quite a few indications that we'll see this MCS organize and start to propagate through the southeast. So that is your severe weather threat today. Looking at high temperatures as we go through the day. I will move this over here and center it a little bit better. But you can see this afternoon, Texas all the way up into the Midwest where it's nice and sunny, back down in through the western part of the Tennessee Valley here into the southeast. We're going to see temperatures in the 80s, San Joaquin Valley as well, 70s and 80s. A little chillier up in the Northeast and the Great Lakes under the influence of that upper level low that we've been seeing, and the same again in the Rockies where that low is finally starting to move out. So that's your high temperature forecast for today. Looking at lows tonight, we're going to see a muggy evening across parts of the South again, 50s making it all the way up into the Midwest, and some 40s showing up into the mountains in the Cumberland Plateau and up here into the Appalachian Mountains, 40s up in the Northeast, 30s and 40s along the border, 30s in the Rockies under the influence of this upper low. And that is your temperature forecast. That is your Tuesday forecast, folks. So this day in history, back in 1937, an iconic event happened, and this segment is sponsored by Where's the Fire Movers? At Where's the Fire Movers, we know how stressful moving can be. That's why we take our time, and yours too. Our patented one piece at a time moving method guarantees the safety of all of your items. We haven't broken a single thing since we started the business 10 years ago. In fact, some of our original clients are still moving in today. So give us a call to help you with your next move. Where's the Fire Movers? America's 15,387th fastest movers. Mileage and distance fees may apply and dishes not included. Not sure where we get all these sponsors. They just sort of show up one at a time. If you got any good sponsor ideas, let me know, folks, and we can certainly, see what else is out there. But that's what we've got today. Now, this day in history, on May the 6th, 1937, airships were still a common method of travel. That is, until May the 6th.
Is being carefully maneuvered towards her hangar when suddenly...
On May the 6th, 1937, at Lakehurst, New Jersey, thunderstorms delayed the landing of the LZ-129, of course better known as the Hindenburg. Upon finally being able to descend, a static discharge, it's widely thought that this was the cause of the explosion, but a static discharge caused a massive explosion, igniting the hydrogen that's used to float the aircraft. It quickly became engulfed in a ball of fire, and it fell to the ground, killing 35 passengers and crew members, and one crew member on the ground as it fell to the ground, of course. That all took place in 30 seconds. That's how long it took the thing to blow up and hit the ground. The event marked the end of airship travel. Airships were a common method of traveling long distances, cross oceans and so forth, but passenger planes were starting to become a little bit more popular. And this event really started to it signaled the end of airships as the preferred and most common way of traveling and moving about from an air standpoint anyway. So that is what happened today in 1937. We're going to go to warp 9 for the rest of the show here because there's just not a lot going on, folks. We've got a quiet period coming up, or quieter than what we've had, and so we're no need to belabor any of this weather stuff over the next few days because it's pretty straightforward. We've got general shower and thunderstorm activity where we've got upper level support, like these low pressure systems, little spokes of energy moving around. The question marks in terms of organization around severe weather threats that might exist have to do with surface boundaries. As the surface pattern gets a little more nebulous and some of these frontal zones start to break down a bit and the contrast starts to become less and less, you get less focus at the surface. And so you might have good upper level support for that would sustain severe weather or help create severe weather, but you don't have anything to kick the process off. And so over the next couple of days, it looks like marginal risk down here in Texas. And then as we get on into Thursday, just general thunderstorms. We could see a slight risk pop up in here over the next couple of days as things become a little more clear. But generally, just general thunderstorm activity, not really looking at a lot of severe weather threats over the next couple of days. Looking out here at the long range pattern, we talked about this last couple of days, but we've got, this is tomorrow morning, we've got this upper level low that has been parked over the Ohio Valley, finally making some progress to the northeast. This other upper level low out here that's finally moving out of the southwest into the plains, and a little trailing low behind that. So watch what happens as we put this into motion. And this ridging over in Canada, by the way, check this out too. So those are the three main features that we're going to be watching over the next few days. So Wednesday into Thursday, one low moves off, it sort of leaves a trough behind. This other low kind of opens up into a trough as it gets on. This ridge builds in over Canada. So where you see ridging, you're going to see warm weather, and cooler weather is going to be generally under these bluer colors of the troughs. You got troughs way up here, but just ignore that for now. Ridging in Canada develops, and you get another little bit of a cutoff for this trough up here over the Great Lakes again. So we could see some unsettled weather back into this area as we get on into the end of the week and Friday. Troughing generally remains over the southeast and southern sections of the country. We'll see that low cut off again, probably down here. Look, it looks like it wants to cut off again as we get on into Saturday. So you've got another cutoff up here in the northeast, another cutoff down here. Ridging is just slowing this pattern down. It's just grinding it to a halt. It's causing these troughs to cut off. And so they'll linger about, and where they linger, you're going to see unsettled weather, clouds, a little bit cooler than normal temperatures, and the potential for showers and thunderstorms near these low pressure zones, not on the west side or the north side, generally around the southeast and southern and eastern sections of these lows. That's where you'll see this. You'll see the moisture source coming in, moisture coming out of the Gulf and into the southeast. So anywhere really in this zone here, I would look for unsettled weather as we get to the end of the week. Hopefully Mother's Day is not a washout. It will be for some folks, but hopefully not for everyone in the southeast. And so that just sort of lingers through Sunday and Monday and on out in time. This ridge just sort of holds this in place. And fair weather for the southeast, or west, it's going to be warming up out here and warming up through the lakes. And that's just kind of what's going on. That's the pattern. Looking at the actual surface map here, you can kind of see that play out. Showers and thunderstorms Wednesday, Thursday evening, Friday evening over the southeast. We get on into the day Friday. It starts to finally push out, at least in some parts of the southeast, but we're seeing a little wave that's going to develop and bring some rain into New England on Friday. And that really takes us into the end of the week. Weekend becomes a little less certain, but with a stagnant pattern and low pressure systems around, we're certainly going to see the opportunity for showers and thunderstorms through the weekend as we get on out in time. Looking at the total precipitation back into our pivotal display here, the bulk of the rainfall outside of today, so we're going to see a lot of this back here in the west occur today, and then the bulk of the rainfall beyond that is going to be essentially the southern areas of the Gulf Coast region over into the southern southeast, where we could pick up as much as 4 to 6 inches of rainfall, even maybe higher amounts locally in some of these spots here. So that's what we're looking at over the next 7 days. And temperature-wise, over the next few days, warm out west, cooler under the low pressure systems up here in the Great Lakes and the Intermountain West, 70s and 80s everywhere else. This is for Wednesday. Thursday looks pretty much the same, except we're starting to warm out as this trough begins to open up and move into the southeast. Great Lakes, northern New England are cool. Everybody else warm, 60s, 70s, 80s. Ridging begins to build in earnest over Canada, driving temperatures up here in the upper plains. Very, very warm conditions, starting to get hot out in the desert Southwest. May set a record or two out there, just depending on the location. Of course, I'll move this over a little bit. Warm in the southeast, and then lastly, as we get on into Saturday, we can kind of see how that starts to that pattern continues to persist. A little bit cooler in the east and the northeast under that low. Looking at our 6 to 10 day outlook, above normal where that ridge is, below normal where the trough is, a little bit below on the west coast. That and Alaska, you're near normal. Hawaii, you're above normal. Looking at the precipitation pattern, dry where the ridging has taken place and establishing itself, wetter over the southeast. I'd probably extend this back a little bit to the west, and then wetter over into the northwest as well, wetter over much of Alaska and Hawaii too. Looking at the volcanic threats, we had one removed, the Atka volcanic complex is gone because it has settled down. Spur is still active here. Great Sitkin is still active. Kilauea and Aya are still on alert there. So pay attention there. We didn't have a whole lot in the earthquake department, just a 5.6 shaker off the Virgin Islands. It was pretty far away. I don't think there was any damage to that. Damage as a result of that. Sunspot activity, the big sunspot complex is turning away, still hasn't fired off anything, but we've got a couple of other sunspots coming around on the limb, and our K index is moderate, and so we could see a level 1 geomagnetic storm, which is out of 5 levels, it's the lowest one, and that would potentially create a higher likelihood of auroras. And if you're up here and you've under cloudy or clear skies, cloud-free skies, maybe you'll see the auroras across the northern tier. And so that's what we're looking at for today. That's your weekly forecast, and that's it. That's the weather forecast for today. We're going to wrap it up with the answer to today's trivia question, or weather IQ question, as we have taken to calling it. So the question was, what is the term for the process by which ice turns directly into water vapor? Deposition, evaporation, sublimation, or freezing? And the answer is sublimation. If you pick that, give yourself a pat on the back and golf clap. Well done. Sublimation. And so you'll see that happen a lot of times. Your snowpack melts, right? And you've got your snowpack on the ground and it's below freezing, but why is it melting? Well, it's evaporating into the air. It's just not really evaporating, it's just turning directly into water vapor. And so that's what happens. It's called sublimation. So that will kill your snowpack very efficiently. All right, well, that's it for today, folks. Now you know about sublimation. Now you know the weather. And of course, this is Cold Rain reminding you that if other stations run 24/7, we got you covered 48/14 right here at Cold Rain's Weather World. Take it easy, folks. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you back tomorrow.